Horror movies can scare in many different ways. Fear of the unknown, of technology, of the paranormal, of losing 90 minutes of your life watching tarot. But horror can also make you think, make you sad, or crawl under your skin. A big factor in the horror experience is the setting, and while I think we can all agree that horror generally is scarier by yourself, I wanted to talk about the movies that benefit the most when watching alone. So here's some horror movies to watch when it's just you and the screen. Be sure to comment with your own picks and subscribe to support the channel. First up is The Lighthouse. I saw this first in theaters and wished I saw it alone. One of the reasons I don't go to theaters much is that outside of the Alamo Drafthouse, I can't trust that the no talking, no texting policies will actually be enforced. A group of idiot teenagers basically ruined my screening of The Joker, and the fact that people are singing while watching Wicked is insane. It's not your living room, you tone-deaf delusionals. Seeing this movie later alone at home was an entirely different experience and a better one. Without the distraction of bored people on their phones, it was easier to be immersed, and it became clear how much the movie depends on that immersion. See, The Lighthouse got much attention for its performances and era-appropriate dialogue, and rightfully so. The writing is clearly well researched, and Willem Dafoe is so good in this movie, it should be a war crime that he wasn't nominated. But what I got out of it on my second watch was the overwhelming sense of being lost in time. The way scenes smoothly transitioned into different locations and moods, the oppressive shot composition, the fantastic music that sounds like the grinding of tectonic plates, I felt like I was being pulled along a slow current to who knows where. I soon understood the protagonist's confusion and paranoia. If a horror movie can not just tell me, not just show me, but make me feel like the main character, that's a huge win. I didn't think the movie was scary, but if you're interested in Robert Eggers' work, or just want to see Batman and the Green Goblin lose their minds by the sea, you should check out The Lighthouse and watch it solo. It's a weird, good movie. Next is the Japanese classic Ringu. I debated whether to recommend this or the remake The Ring, but I'm going with the original because of its tone. The Ring is domineering and moody in a stylish way. From the sound design to the very heavy color grading that's like a reception hall in the show Four Weddings. But Ringu is a bit more subtle, both in its scares and its visuals, and I think this and its pacing lends itself better to the solo experience. I forgot just how tastefully shot Ringu is. A single shot of a camera lens looks so good I want to frame it. And am I the only person who actually misses films that were shot on film? I think for certain genres, horror, crime, dramas, it lends a weight, a tangibility to the visuals that I really like. I go back and forth on which haunted videotape I prefer. They're both spooky in different ways, but I may have to go with Ringu because it actually looks like something pirated, something discarded that you shouldn't see. Ringu is just as dedicated to mystery and tragedy as it is to the horror, and it makes it a more consistent watch. The Ring is better with a partner or a crowd. The editing is tighter, the jump scares are effective, the fear is fun. And as American horror remakes go, you can't do much better. Ringu is slow burn horror, even somber in places, but one that gradually builds the horror until the final terrifying climax. It's the kind of movie that even if it doesn't scare you, you can still get so much out of its plot, its characters, and its visual design. Give it a try, and let me know which haunted tape you guys prefer. I think it's a fun debate. Next is Luz, probably the strangest movie I'll talk about today, and one I debated even putting on because I had a mixed reaction when I first saw it. For a short film, this feels more like a marathon, and the rather jarring ways the plot moves around threatened disinterest rather than fear from me. But these were only on my mind during the actual viewing. Afterwards, I kept thinking of all the things I actually liked about it. The cinematography captures a nostalgic, grainy B-movie vibe. Characters speak to each other in a detached manner reminiscent of the Silent Hill games, where no one seems like they're on the same page. Luz also has the second best hypnosis scene in a movie. I admire how patiently Luz sets this up, and the use of objects is such an interesting idea. The number one best is something we'll talk about later. As a fan of Salvador Dali paintings, I'm fascinated with the idea of these incredible, bizarre events happening separate from anything else in the world. Like they're just scattered moments of crazy. Luz is like that, an isolated trip taking place somewhere familiar and yet comes across like it's in a different universe. So if slow psychedelia sounds good to you, Luz may scratch that itch, because at the very least, I haven't seen much like it at all. Kairo, also known as Pulse, is my favorite tech horror film. Everything about it is slow, and that's a good thing. The editing, how scares appear, how people speak, it immediately brings the otherworldly and paranormal to mind. The visuals are drenched in shadow, which helps give it a dark web, bootleg atmosphere. Every piece of footage we see on monitors feels so authentic to that dark side of the internet, striking that right tone of unsettling, hidden, and sick. Of course, I have to mention the hallway scene, which is terrific. The music that sounds like a choir of ghosts, the low visibility, the movements. It is terrifying to watch. Kairo managed to combine the supernatural and technology as smoothly as silk, and the viewing experience is like that tape from Ringu, but stretched to 2 hours. I do think the special effects suffer in the finale, but the surprises, the consistent mood, and specific scares make this a great one to check out on your own. Next is Saint Maud. Saint Maud is especially effective because I really thought I had a handle on it at first. The withdrawn, intensely faithful Catholic nurse butting heads with the hard-headed, sharp-toothed older woman dying of cancer. It's a clash of personalities, and I figured the plot would just focus on that. And it did, kind of. But then an undercurrent of something stranger started to arise, like that prayer scene that weirdly turned into women's tennis. And while Maud talks about her closeness with God, once that presence makes itself known, we're not sure whether it is God or something else. About 2/3 through the film, I had no one to identify with, and no firm grasp of what was going to happen. Like other movies on this list, it felt like a dream slowly turning nightmarish. Much credit goes to the performers and the shot composition, but I think the sound design deserves a shout out. A scene where Maud communicates with this entity works so well because of the sound mixing. It's bassy but warped, and it immediately made me think of something both ancient and malevolent. It's a creepy scene. Saint Maud also has one of the greatest jump scares in film history. This movie begs a rewatch, and ideally by yourself in the dark.
Look, I know it's a bit late now, but I wanted to tell you. I wanted to say that we should have been there before it all happened. We could see you were struggling for a while and no one did anything. You know, there's no
Do you remember when I said Luz had the second best hypnosis scene on film? Well, now we have Cure from 1997. The hypnosis methods are slow, simple, and believable, and the effect is horrifying. One such scene includes one of my favorite shots of all time, which is water gradually spilling across the floor. The film focuses its efforts through these hypnosis sessions and the kind of spacing in its shot composition to hypnotize you as well as the victims. And it works. I don't want to say much more because Cure is one you really should go into kind of blind. Just know to expect great cinematography that doesn't distract, great hypnosis that keeps your eyes glued to the screen, and a great villain whose unassuming, ordinary-looking nature is what makes him unforgettable and merciless. It's a special horror crime film that should be on any film buff or horror geek watch list. It's awesome. Before my last pick, I wanted to throw in some honorable mentions. Under the Skin is great at showing, not telling, especially in its incredible opening scene. Sinister peaks with its 8mm tapes. kill list becomes more disturbing as it goes on, and In Fabric is a beautifully shot, beautifully scored, beautifully designed mindfuck that's like taking mescaline in a department store. But now for number 1, which is Lake Mungo. I know people hate this film. I know some think it's overglazed. Some people find it boring or uneventful. But I love this movie. It's both a horror film and a tragedy, and easily the most believable fake documentary I've ever seen. I wouldn't even say you need a big screen or a top-notch sound system to make this thing work. A laptop in bed will do the trick. This snuck up on me more gradually and powerfully than possibly any other horror film. It captured that fear of noticing a threat, a creepy person watching you, but also that fear of realizing how long that threat has probably been there. It's just too sneaky, man. Its realism, the emotional core of this family's story, the natural performances, they all act as the perfect primer for that slow-boiling fear. Every plot development, every video recording, every ghostly photo, every physical side effect patiently lays another layer of anxiety. The slow zooms lull you into studying every detail of the frame, and the film resists the urge of jump scares until arguably the finale. And goddamn, is that scene even scarier the more you think about it? I know it won't work for many people, but I can't not recommend it because there's still a decent chance it'll scare the hell out of you. And even if it doesn't, it works as a captivating paranormal drama about loss and discovery. Lake Mungo deserves all the glaze. Well, that's my list of some horror flicks to watch alone. Did I miss any? Shout out to my Patreon members Alika Kelly and Misty and Company. Click the Patreon link below to learn more about some fun bonuses for $5 a month, and check out my other horror videos. And as always, thanks for watching.